All right. We should probably open this with a prayer because I think that's the only way we're going to be able to overcome the evil that is set around. Anyway, we are, I don't even know how to describe where we are as a nation. I mean, it's very obvious that we have two very opposed sides of the aisle. We have a side of the aisle that wants to see the American people, the middle class, actually become something. And then we see the other side of the aisle that just wants everything for free. And I have a great analogy for animals in the animal kingdom. Dogs will lie down next to you and die with you. Felines, on the other hand, felines are the liberal progressives of the animal kingdom. They want everything for free. They want housing. They want food. They want clean litter, warmth, and cool. And then after you give them all of that, they judge you. They look at you with a side eye and they judge you. And they pretty much tell you that you're a piece of crap. I have been mistreated for most of my adult life. Taken advantage of. So I have a very cold idea of things. Very rarely do I sugarcoat anything. I have no desire to sugarcoat anything. It comes from upbringing. My father didn't sugarcoat anything. My mother was not a sugarcoater. My brothers certainly weren't. All of that has made me who I am today. I have a big mouth. I can't keep my mouth shut. It's a big problem. But it's also a sign of somebody who doesn't care. I don't care if you think I'm a piece of garbage. I don't care if you think I'm obese. I am. I know I'm obese. The stream is, we don't know what we're doing anymore. You have people that are struggling in this world financially. They're looking for houses. The prices are outrageous. Then you have other people that have those houses, and they are self-centered, egotistical, self-righteous. We know who they are. And then we have a group of people that are from the boomer generation. Most of them are in arrested development. The ones that aren't are the good ones. We all know several good people from the boomer generation that they never did drugs. They worked their asses off their whole lives. And they fought the good fight. They did what they were supposed to do. And then you have people like my last landlady who acted like she was 11 because that's when she started doing drugs. We have allowed, unfortunately, the sociopaths and the paranoid delusional schizophrenics and the unstable people get control of the system. And that's a problem. That's a problem. We are truly living in some sort of delusional, unhinged world. And we're all trying to make sense of it. I don't think we can at this point. One side of the aisle is out there saying, hey, we want everything for free, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. Meanwhile, we've seen nothing. Nothing. 3+ years this regime has been in charge. We've gotten poorer. Our cost of living has gone through the roof. Cost of energy has gone through the roof. I ran a business for a guy in New Jersey. A set of paddles for a single stage snowblower in 2021 were $37 my cost, and then in 2023 they were $87. Because when you don't produce oil, you don't produce rubber. And you're at the mercy of your suppliers. People in finance don't understand that. People in government jobs don't understand that. People in small businesses that deal with customers on a daily basis, they have to tell that customer, hey, your machine's delayed or your car's not going to be fixed this week because the part hasn't come in. $90 days to get 2 tires for a machine. I want you to think about that. Can someone go 3 months without cutting their lawn? Is the town going to allow that? The answer is no. So as Americans, with the amount of death around us, the amount of lies being fed to us on a daily basis, the weak people, because that's what it is. Weak people create hard times. Now, I'm an InfoWars listener. I listen because Alex Jones has been ahead of the curve for decades. He's always told us what was going to happen next. He told us they were going to bring the masks back in 2021, 2022. Sure enough, they tried. He told us that Russia was going to invade Ukraine. Nobody believed it. Boom, there it was. We've stopped asking questions and we just started listening to answers. We have to ask the questions. Why did Russia do what they did? The Minsk Accords laid that out in 1991, that NATO would not expand any further eastward, and Russia would demilitarize their border. Russia's the only one that held up their end of the bargain. But you hate Russia. Okay. I had a customer up there in New Jersey, Howard Voss, in a $2.5 million house on a corner lot in a very expensive section of Bergen County, complaining about prices. I didn't vote for this, but I'm along for the ride. I'm along for the ride. Why? Because a bunch of people couldn't handle criticism. A bunch of progressive liberal freaks couldn't handle the facts. They couldn't handle the truth. And that's because their mommies and daddies lied to them their entire lives. Told them how special they were. Guess what? To all those folks out there that your parents told you were special. You're special. Oh, you're my special little guy. You're my special little girl. You're so special. Your parents forgot to add a word to that special thing. And that's needs. Your special needs. Most likely because your parents were drugged out of their heads when they created you. Yes, drugs have a negative effect on the stuff that creates babies. Just saying. As a nation, we are lost. We are a rudderless ship, and the people in charge are full throttle. The steering wheel's been broken for decades. They just that throttle lever is forward. They ain't stopping us. I think if they tried to throw it in reverse, the prop will just fall off. Because we haven't checked the shear pin in 3 decades. Preventative maintenance, folks. Preventative maintenance. An example of that is General Motors. They say, oh, you could change the oil in that car every 7,500 miles. They failed to tell you in the book that car, because it has a turbocharger, uses every 1,000 miles half a quart of oil. And the car holds 4.5 quarts of oil. So the minute you go over 7,500 miles, you've run that engine out of oil. You get it yet? 3,000 miles. Don't care how expensive your oil is. I don't care if you're using liquid moly or Royal Purple. 3,000 miles. Maybe 3,500. Maybe. Sorry. We have done no preventative maintenance in our country. I use analogies for cars because that's what I'm at. That's what I do. We haven't done an oil change. We haven't changed the fuel filter. We haven't changed the oil filter. We haven't had a transmission service in decades. And yet the leaders are so stupid that they keep just pushing the throttle to the floor. You can't port round this. You have us on a direct collision course with the north wall of the Strait of Gibraltar, for God's sakes. And you don't care. The boomers don't care because, I lived my life. I don't give a shit. The people in charge, who's in charge? You got a brain-dead applesauce brain and a cackling whore who only got to where she got is because she made the rounds at the frat parties. And let's not forget under Willie Brown's desk. You want us to trust you, but we see your track record. And you're not changing anything. You're not changing anything. You're not even remotely trying. You throw these ideas out there that aren't even your ideas. You've done no research. You think you could jump into the driver's seat of this country and hope that you're doing the right thing. That's impossible. We have the largest military on the face of the planet. The rest of the world is looking up to the United States for guidance. And this is who you put in charge? Really? You've got to be kidding me. Biden wasn't good 20 years ago. I'm old enough to remember when Biden was running for president in the 80s. I'm old enough to remember that. The guy was a two-bit fraud. He was a two-bit fraud. Plagiarized everything. Wasn't the top of any class. Became a senator. So what I've come to realize is in this country, you can fail up if you work for the government. And it works that way, not just in the bureaucratic government or the federal government, but it works that way in the police departments too. The people are evil. People are evil. Because a path of evil is much easier to walk than the path of good. You hear the excuses, well, everyone else is doing it. Yeah. Okay. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't mean it's right. Oh, I went and got food stamps. Why? You work. Yeah, but you just do this or this and you get them. Yeah, but you're taking them out of the mouths of the people that need them. Yeah, but everyone else is too, so what's it matter? What do you mean, what's it matter? Eventually, that takes the money away from the school systems. It takes the money away from everything. America has fallen. We are a nation of used to be's. We used to be the greatest nation on the planet. We were endearing. We had admirations and aspirations. We had an American dream. And we don't have that anymore. The bureaucracy has crushed that. We allow members of the bureaucracy to lie to us and lie to Congress and the Senate. And the only thing Congress and the Senate does is we're going to send a strongly worded email. What? Dr. Peter Navarro spent time in jail because he refused a subpoena. Steve Bannon is in jail because he would not testify in front of a committee. Chris Wray lies to the American people, Congress, and the Senate, and he's walking free. Merrick Garland, same thing, walking free. So at what point do we at least come together and agree that the system's broken? I'm ready to hear. Take my hand. Tell me what you think. Is the system broken? As America, we could disagree on a lot of stuff. As Americans, we can disagree on a lot of stuff. But we can't fucking disagree on reality. Up is up, down is down. If you cut me, I bleed. If I cut you, you bleed. And the system is broken. Right? The manipulation from the female gender is appalling. I'm not saying repeal the 19th. But you weak-ass husbands need to keep your women in line. There's a reason why certain women aren't married. My former landlady, one of them. Because she's a manipulative, maniacal, sociopathic, paranoid, delusional, schizophrenic, who I'm going to safely say she was probably, mistreated as a child by someone close to her, and that's why she started doing her drugs when she did. That's why she had a child young. That's why she was never married. And that's why she treats people the way she does. It's the way it is. People like that should not be part of society. They need to be locked away. We have a mental health crisis in this country. We have a homelessness crisis. We have a homeless veteran crisis. We have a spending problem. We have a credit card debt problem. People unable to afford housing and food. But we're going to keep giving money overseas. $7.5 billion. Most expensive charging stations you'll ever find. $7.5 billion. We're going to build 3 million more homes under Kamala. How? You fuckers can't wipe your asses. But somehow you're going to organize this. You're going to build more homes than they built at the end of World War II. with lazier people and more regulations. What? The government is talking out of its ass. The people believing it are retarded. The people voting for it are just plain dumb. And I'd like to say this out loud, and I know this is probably upsetting for some people. I'm all in for Trump. I think the guy is great. He needs to shut his mouth once in a while, but he's a great guy. They're not going to let him win. They cannot lose $1 trillion again. They're not going to allow it. Number one. Number two, we the people are not strong enough between the chemicals in the food and the water and the air, the absolute laziness of the American people. Because they're not lazy because of them being lazy. They're lazy because they know, what's the point of me fighting this hard for nothing? It's just a rant, ladies and gentlemen. We need to clean up the streets. We need to take the paranoid, delusional schizophrenics and put them away. They have no place in society. They are a danger to themselves and others. And their offspring are a danger to themselves and others. I was asked once where I thought Antifa came from, and I have a great theory on this. In 1986, when they passed the Liability Protection Act, and it was signed into law by Ronald Reagan, who didn't read the bill. He should have. They defunded all the federal mental health institutions. And all those mentally deficient people were released onto the streets. Now, they had to be forced to take their medications in these stores or in these facilities. They weren't taking their medication when they left. And their base carnal needs needed to be met. They needed food, sleep, shelter, and, they wanted a little fun too. Well, if you look at the age of most of these Antifa members, kind of makes you wonder who their parents are, don't you think? Trauma causes mental instability. Trauma causes mental health crisis. Some people are born with mental problems. At some point, our downfall, which is already here, will be these people on the streets. I mean, Chicago just brought in 50,000 more police because of the DNC happening this next week. Why? I thought you wanted to defund the police. Oh, you can't. Because you need those police to protect the delegates coming in. I don't like Biden. 14 million people voted for him. You just null and voided their 14 million votes. You guys are scumbags. You're scumbags. From Kamala all the way down to the people in the Congress and the Senate that agreed to it. You're scumbags. The downfall of this nation already happened. It just hasn't hit us yet. We're in trouble. We're in a lot of trouble. Ring the bell. Put the flag upside down. We're in trouble. We were a nation of laws. We haven't been a nation of laws in 15 years. And that started under that Obama guy. Hands up, don't shoot, Ferguson. The dude tried to grab the cop's gun off his side. Michael Brown. Cop or not, you try to grab my weapon off my side, you're going to have problems. Cop or not. It had nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with culture. Ben Shapiro was right on that. It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with culture. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, we're in serious trouble. And if we don't wake the fuck up and fast and realize that come September 18th, your knight in shining armor on the white steed, Donald Trump, his ass going to be in Rikers. And then what are you going to do? You're going to get behind J.D. Vance? Does J.D. Vance have the same pull and crowdsourcing as Donald Trump? I don't think so. Donald, you should have put your ego aside and chose RFK Jr. as your running mate. Because you both have a common enemy. And that's the same enemy that we the people have. It's called the deep state. And you should have listened to Alex Jones in 2015. I heard that show when he said, Mr. Trump, you need to go in and fire everyone and arrest them. You didn't listen because your ego is too big. The American people want their country back. And I have a bad feeling that if something goes awry in the next 80 days, it's going to get real messy. And I hope that people wake up and realize. I've ranted long enough. I'm going to watch a movie, going to hang out with my cat, and go to church tomorrow morning and pray for my immortal soul and the rest of the souls in my nation. May God bless you, your family, your loved ones, and this country. God bless the United States. And may he bring some intelligence to the so-called leaders. God bless.